And coming this fall to home video.
My Little Pony, an enchanting animated fantasy. Visit Dream Valley, home of the fabulous little ponies.
My little pony, isn't the world a lovely place? My little pony, everywhere you go, a smiling face. Running and skipping, merrily drifting, watching the morning unfold. My little pony, what does the future hold? Run, everybody, run!
Join all your favorite little ponies as they gallop off to battle the evil Tyrrell. My Little Pony, today's most popular toy, is now an animated home video adventure.
Crashing through the sky comes a fearful cry. Cobra, 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 armies of the night, evil taking flight. Welcome to another split edition of Saturday Night Movie Sleepovers. This is actually kind of part 2.
Yeah, we're staying up late tonight.
Yeah, I mean the sun is up.
Kind of a double feature for us.
The sun is up. We've got coffee. That's how old we are. We're drinking coffee now because we've drank so much that we've sobered up. So now we're drinking coffee.
I remember sleepovers was the time. Going over somebody's house for a sleepover was like the time that you could like eat the cereal that your mom would never buy.
Oh yeah.
I remember first time I ever had Fruity Pebbles.
A sleepover.
Was at a sleepover like birthday party.
Did you get all freaked out? I mean, afterward, did it hit you? Like, it's like when you first drink, you don't realize. So you went wild, and it's
sugar high.
Yeah,
like, right
and his kid's
house.
poor parents are like, "Oh my god, who's this kid?"
It was a sleepover. I don't know what year it was, 5th or 6th grade probably. Party. One of the first like parties where it was like a bunch of fucking kids.
Oh wow.
Feel bad for parents that put up with that, but me and my,
especially if it's a sleepover. It's one thing if it's just like
yeah,
a
like
day,
people over for like the afternoon.
And then you like get these kids out of here by 6 o'clock.
But bunch of kids. Chris, I don't know if we want to gonna say it again. Gotta protect the innocent.
Yeah, some names have been excluded or changed to protect the innocent.
His name was Chris, and he had this sleepover. And me and my best friend at the time, Joe,
also a pseudonym.
He and I, we slept over each other's places like every weekend.
Yeah,
like, that was like kind of our thing. A lot of crazy sleepover stories regarding that.
Dead hookers
and USA Up All Night. So there's like the heyday of USA Up All Night. And,
nice.
But this was a particular party and bunch of people, and it was the first time that I think Joe and I pulled an all-nighter. Like everybody else fell asleep, and Joe and I just stayed up, and we're like, the kid Chris his dad had recently redid the basement, so it was like a nice basement with like a pool table and stuff, and we stayed up all night, and so then I guess there's like videos the next day that his parents took, and like all the kids were all like watching movies, and then Joe and I were just like passed out on the couch.
You went to bed at 6 in the morning
because we didn't go to sleep. But I remember like waking up in the middle of the afternoon. Everybody had eaten breakfast already. I guess his mom like made breakfast and was already eaten, and it was like put away and stuff, and they're outside playing. And like I wake up when I stumble in, and she gives me a bowl of Fruity Pebbles.
And you're like, I'm not supposed to have these.
No, it wasn't. I wasn't supposed to have it. It's just that my mom never would have bought them.
It's interesting because my mom the same way. Where I wouldn't call them smarter than other mothers, but my mother was like, she knew it was just pure sugar. So my mother would only give me like
every once in a while we'd get something like that, but she would have to have like a coupon for it.
Oh yeah, my mother wouldn't even do that. I mean, at most we get like the most like scandalizing thing in the house. We get like Frosted Flakes.
Yeah,
but we'd usually like just ghetto it where she'd get us cornflakes and we just add the sugar in.
Yeah. We I guess the only time it was really experimental in my household growing up is sometimes she'd buy the pack of like the little boxes.
Oh yeah,
where it's
yeah,
like
yeah.
a variety pack. So then
Yeah.
you'd have like the Cocoa Krispies
Pebbles and all the monsters, Blueberry and Count Duckula, and
But,
are those still all around? You
so
think?
Fruity Pebbles. That's a sleepover story for you.
Wow, Fruity Pebbles,
And I guess this, the time period we're talking about is
the same era.
close to that era. So I think maybe that's why I'm kind of feeling it right now.
We've been up all night. We stopped down, and I do want to bring up before we get on to the podcast. It's very interesting. This week, welcome to Saturday Night Movie Sleepovers. This is kind of part 2 of our ushering of 2015. We just did Transformers the movie.
It's a Hasbro 2-pack.
Yeah, a Sunbow as well. If you haven't listened to the first one, go back, listen to the first cast. I thought it was pretty good. It's interesting. We're going to do G.I.Joe the movie from 1987, so we hope you guys are all up for that, because if you're not, well, you're
Put on
going
your boots,
Yeah, it's going to be fun.
your gun belts.
I want to quickly relay an interesting story, which is, I guess, between me and Blake and I, it's a conspiracy theory we have. If you're listening to this recording now, Transformers the movie went up 2 weeks ago. Our podcast for that. It was very exciting. Everyone loved it. It's getting tons of downloads, and we're really happy.
It's a hit. It's a hit, kid.
It's streaming. It's hashtagging. It's what do you call that? It's trending. In between that time, when we were working on doing the post-production on the podcast before it went up, an interesting thing happened where there was an episode of that show, The Goldbergs. The new episode came out, and they did Transformers the movie. And it was the same week, literally within a day or two, our podcast was going up.
Yeah, it was like literally within a day.
Like I think the podcast for Transformers the movie went up on a Friday. That aired like on a Wednesday. It was a new episode for the Goldberg show. And my wife told me, and I watched it, and it was an integral part of the plot. Them going to see Transformers the movie and us talking about the death of Optimus Prime and how it screwed up every kid, and that was part of that plot. So what I wanted to bring up is it's interesting for you and I, Blake.
Okay.
Where for years people will laugh at us, but we have this conspiracy theory that ideas are being stolen from us.
Okay, yeah.
And there is a list upon lists going back to freshman year of college where there's ideas we've had that we feel like, there's like, it's almost like people who hear like, satellite or radio transmissions in their heads where we'll talk about something and literally within like 6 months to a year, it comes out. And we've even done like proposals. We've had outlines of scripts, and it's almost like beat for beat. These things come out.
There are some crazy examples. I
Similarities.
don't think the Goldbergs.
No, but it just
they would have had to rush that baby into production pretty damn quick.
But it illustrates the point where it's just the two of us will do something, and then someone else jumps on the bandwagon. Which is, I'm not at all trying to say that they're.
I think we're just cutting edge, man. I think we're on the.
we're looking over. We're on the wall.
We're just.
I mean, we've had.
There it is. Man.
You had a great idea. You want to do? Remember, Washington Irving. You're like, there's a great short story called
Sleepy Hollow.
Sleepy Hollow. You're like, I want to do that. And then what was it? A year later, the Johnny Depp movie came out.
yeah. Now there's a TV show. There's a lot of stuff. There was a lot of TV movies. Lincoln.
You wanted to do Lincoln.
I think you're the one that wanted to do a Lincoln. We had discussed it.
You wanted to do Lincoln
Houdini. I wanted to do Houdini.
And they came out with a Houdini.
They came out. For Dracula.
TNT.
USA did a Dracula movie with Peter Weller was in it.
But your idea for the Dracula movie was you want to do like the
Vlad the Impaler.
Yeah, Vlad the Impaler.
And that's what that was.
Yeah.
Vlad the Impaler
As opposed to like a Bela Lugosi or the classical Bram Stoker thing. We had
lots of examples. H2O was mine.
Halloween, yeah.
Halloween H2O, that was my idea.
There's tons, and even horror. I think there was a couple horror movies too. But it's just it's funny that through the years we'll talk about stuff, action movies or whatever. Remember even The Transporter? You and I came up with that. We wrote the first scene over the Tappan Zee Bridge for writing class. Yeah. Which is kind of idiotic now because our shtick in it was that the two people who we based on ourselves. Well, I wrote it, but we were young. Was that we were going to be car drivers, but one guy can drive. And the other guy can only drive automatic, which is kind of silly. It
was a joke. I mean, it was a buddy It was a buddy action with some comedy.
But it was a shtick where, the one guy can only drive automatic. So if you think if he was like a car driver, he'd know how to drive standard. But I digress. Anyhow, I just find it funny that literally within a day of us putting up that Transformers the movie post, they had an episode of a very current, popular TV show.
Well, it just goes to show you like how important Transformers the movie was to a generation of people.
Yeah, it's amazing. It's utterly amazing. Well, we're doing the follow-up to that now.
We're going to do the follow-up
with
G.I. Joe the movie.
G.I. Joe the movie came out a year later, 1987.
Never got a theatrical release.
No. Sunbow, which was the company that put out G.I. Joe and Transformers the movie. G.I. Joe the movie was also written by Ron Friedman, the same fellow who wrote Transformers the movie. Actually went into production before Transformers, but for some reason, Transformers came out before G.I. Joe was finished. And Transformers had some very weird things happen.
Yeah, well, funny enough, I recently heard that because they started making G.I. Joe first,
yeah,
it was the Duke scene. They liked that so much that they were like, you know what, let's kill Optimus Prime.
Oh,
because like they like the Duke death scene so much.
Yeah, spoiler alert. But
it's not really a spoiler.
Yeah, it's true. 25 to 30 years ago.
I mean, if you're listening to this, you should know by now that we're going to spoil the fuck out of any movie we're talking about.
Yeah.
But so it was actually that Duke scene that they liked that so much, and that's the reason why they put the Optimus Prime scene in.
So they put out Transformers the movie. Sunbow puts out Transformers the movie, and they put out My Little Pony the movie. Both get a theatrical release. Both don't do up to their expectations. I don't even remember My Little Pony the movie coming out.
Yeah, I don't remember anything about My Little Pony. I mean, now I know that My Little Pony's like a big fucking deal. But
I mean, I remember it being from our childhood.
No, but now it's like there's conventions.
Seriously,
and there's the whole. You don't know the whole Brony thing.
No. You serious?
Okay, we're gonna go off on a big tangent here.
Okay,
because this is something you need
I remember.
to know.
It's like Strawberry Shortcake. I do remember that was girls liked Care Bears. Some guys like Care Bears too. We both admitted.
I mean, because now I think if you're younger than us and you're listening to this, you probably know a whole different era of My Little Pony. And
young people know about My Little Pony,
and you know about the Bronies. And there's like a whole cult, like a whole subculture around My Little Pony. But at the time,
we admitted that we both had gone and saw Care Bears movie in the theater, which is, I don't think at all to be shameful because it's a really fucked up movie, which we should probably get to at some point down the road.
But so my point is, for anybody listening that wasn't alive in the 80s and thinks of as like My Little Pony as being something that's significant in some way, even if it's just like some kind of subculture or pop culture thing, My Little Pony was, it was okay in the 80s. I mean, it was big. People collected the toys. It was basically another thing where you collect toys, except for the toys didn't do shit.
No.
It was just like a hard plastic.
Yeah, with like a leg up.
Not movable.
A little horse with a unicorn on it. Different colors.
And they were different colors. They had a different stamp on their ass.
Yeah, they had stars on their ass. And that was it. And then sometimes their mane was like actual real hair. They probably killed some horses in China.
But now there's been different generations of My Little Pony as a cartoon show. So My Little Pony has evolved over the years.
Sounds like the Japanese have taken over.
It's not the same My Little Pony that
we know and love.
That we grew up with. Even though, to be honest, I don't know if I ever watched an episode of it when I was little. I didn't even know there was a movie until you just said it. And so at some point, it starts becoming this thing that kids are not just enjoying, but adults like these newer versions of My Little Pony.
Are they dealing with adult themes?
I don't know. I've never watched it.
But
weird. What I will say is that, and from that, developed a whole culture of men that like My Little Pony. And they're called Bronies.
They like the whole idea of My Little Pony, or they're only into like the new show?
I think they like that show. And they're fans. They're big fans. I mean, I guess there's morality tales. I don't know. People take something out of it that they really enjoy, which I'm all for.
I wonder
now where it gets interesting is there's two divisions of Bronies. There's the Brony who likes the show, and then there's a thing called Cloppers, and those are men that are sexually attracted to the ponies.
Wow.
And there is My Little Pony like porn that people create,
like the animated stuff.
Yeah, And there's people that like whack off to My Little Pony and
Clappers?
cloppers.
Oh, like clopping around like a horse.
Yeah.
That's interesting. I wonder if that has to go into anything where, have you heard of the Japanese subculture where there's the Japanese have the little pulp, they have the little like teeny bopper icons, like the girls, like a Britney Spears, that kind of, and all they do is they sing like pop tunes. And they have these elaborate concerts of like these, I don't know, like probably like 17, 18, 19-year-old girls doing these shows.
Yeah.
And there's not a girl in the audience. It's all men. But it's all men like our age.
Yeah.
And it's weird. And they swear to God that they're going because they love the music. But it's weird because if you go on YouTube and you Google like Japanese pop idols or whatever, and you find footage of these concerts are pretty freaking elaborate. But these girls, they're not dressed up like Madonna doing like Express Yourself or something. They're dressed up like, I don't know, maybe a schoolgirl. That's like the most risque you'll get. But pretty much it's just like a girl, she's showing skin or whatever. But I guess in the Japanese culture, where else are you going to be able to just stare at a woman for 2 hours or so? And it's weird because the guys are there and it's all dudes and they're all like, they're all like in dress shirts. Like maybe they took their jackets off and they have like glow sticks. And they're like, they have their arms up, they're singing the songs, they're saying like, oh, we're doing it for the music, but it's just really weird. Like, are you really, or is it going into some sort of weird culture? Like they have that subculture where there's heterosexual Japanese men who will have a day job, and then at night what they do is they dress up as a woman, usually like one of these schoolgirls, and then they'll go work as a waiter at this weird diner, like in a mall. And they have these weird diners where it's like cross-dressing waitresses work there, and all you do is eat. It's not like you're doing anything sexy with them. But I guess it's such a repressed culture. But I wonder if that feeds into that this whole weird kind of a it's like people who get off to you go on to check a porn site and there's like Simpsons porn and there's Family Guy porn and there's a whole anime porn.
But apparently this is like it's a whole big subculture, and apparently there's a large section of it, maybe the majority, I don't know, that isn't into it. It's not any kind of sexual nature, but there is like.
But it's weird that it's one thing if two dudes are I'm jacking off the freaking.
And there's like brony cons where it's like where these guys can get together and celebrate My Little Pony
and there's not girls
be embarrassed about it. I'm sure there's girls. I mean, obviously there are girls that love
My Little Pony,
My Little Pony, but there's been this whole subdivision of like.
I never heard of any of this.
I don't know. I mean, I don't know what the comparison would be. If you were like girls that got really fucking into G.I.Joe and then watch porn with like Flint and Duke get it on.
Yeah, gay, but then it's also that they're doing like Joe cons and all the girls are going to what you're saying. It's like that'd be weird. Like you have like a G.I. Joe con and there's just women everywhere.
Yeah.
Wow, this is pretty cool.
Heaven.
Exactly. I mean, I don't know what kind of women you're going to be attracting to G.I. Joe cons. But the reason we brought My Little Pony up is that Sunbow had produced and released Transformers the movie, which got a theatrical release. They released My Little Pony the movie, which got a theatrical release, and I guess it put Sunbow out of business. Transformers didn't do that well, which surprises me because I do remember it coming out and
I remember
people
being
seeing
a big
it.
deal.
Yeah,
I saw it.
I don't remember My Little Pony the movie coming out, but I guess it had a theatrical release, came and went, and it put Sunbow out of business, and because of that. They either decided to or they ran out of money. They didn't put G.I. Joe, didn't have a theatrical release.
Which is a shame.
Straight to video. Yeah, it is a shame. And it's also a shame, too, because can you imagine the ramifications of a world we lived in if G.I. Joe the movie came out first and Duke had actually really died? And the backlash of Duke dying, would there have been such a big backlash? One, two, that of course would have affected then Transformers the movie. And Optimus surely wouldn't have died because of what happened. But there's no way around... you can't really animate yourself out of Optimus dying.
Optimus would have been in a coma.
Yeah, he fell into a coma and he turned gray, or brown.
Well, what's interesting about if you take the premise to be true, which I understand is true, which is they saw Duke's death scene, they liked it, they put it in, they decided to kill off Optimus Prime. Now, if that's really the deciding factor of like, okay, you know what, Duke death scene's great, Let's put Optimus Prime death scene. And then it must have been like this thing where they're like, you know what? Fuck it. Let's kill off everybody.
Well, they realized they wanted to just invent a new line of toys.
Well, that was the thing, was like Duke was going to be a figure that was going to be discontinued. They weren't going to make Duke anymore.
Because if you think about the, like, I guess.
So they chose Duke.
Like I don't know what you'd call them, like the first line or year one or the first series of those original G.I. Joes. There's only like 20 or 12.
Yeah.
There's
like
not
many.
Rock and Roll.
The very first ones were like their arms don't even swivel. So it's like Rock and Roll. I guess, is there a Duke?
Yeah.
In that first run?
I thought there's some sort of
Snake
semblance
Eyes.
to Duke. Snake Eyes. You have a Scarlet, maybe. Redhead Scarlet.
Yeah,
You
maybe.
have Cobra Commander, of course. You have the Cobra, like, Trooper, the Cobra Guard.
The Viper or whatever.
Yeah, Stormtrooper, maybe he's called. You have, I think, a Destro. You have like a Major Blood.
There's some I have that don't have swiveling arms, and then there's, by swiveling I mean there's like another joint between the elbow and the shoulder.
Yeah, where they can kind of go left and right, like do a jerk off motion.
the jerk off joint.
Yeah,
and but I'm not positive because it's been so long since I broke them out, but I recall that like my Destro had a swiveling arm. My Cobra Commander had
I wonder
a
if
swiveling
because
arm. Maybe
those are
Cobra
like year,
Commander didn't.
These are like year 2 or season. I mean, because then once you hit, I guess when it gets, and maybe Gung Ho might also be in that arena of season 1s. But once you it gets going, you have like, I wouldn't say when Flint came about, but by that time you had that you started getting like a lot of like. Roadblock also could have been that season 1, but you get a lot of new guys prior to G.I. Joe the movie. I kind of think they redefined or they kind of redesigned the G.I. Joe figure, and it's a little more versatile and I don't know, I guess dexterous, where you can have a little more of movability. It's interesting, but so this goes right to not DVD, right to video, and it's weird because I know it didn't have a theatrical release, but I always remember I don't remember just stumbling upon it, which means...
See, here's the thing. I do. Very specifically, I
always
remember
thought
I'm
it
at
was
my
just there.
I'm at my dad's house.
Yeah.
And I'm guessing the year's 1987. And I'm flipping through the channels, or my dad's flipping through the channels, and it's on. And it's on on like a Sunday afternoon or Saturday
They
afternoon.
premiered it like on a Sunday, I want to say. Which is completely
and
unheard
it's
of.
on, and I didn't know anything about it. I mean, this is an era where there's like not internet, like we're not fucking glued to a computer screen reading about pop culture, and I was, fucking a little kid, so it wasn't like I was like reading the newspaper or whatever, or like flipping through the TV guide and reading articles about what's coming up. So it's on. And
it's on.
And I remember my fucking mind was blown. Like, I'm like, what is this? I don't know what's going on. Who's this character?
Well, how far in? Do you remember how far in?
I don't remember how far in, but it wasn't the beginning.
Oh.
And
that's scarring right there.
And so we were downstairs, and I ran upstairs to there was a TV, there was a room with a television on on the upstairs, and I went and I watched it by myself. And I don't think I caught a lot of it because I remember it ending pretty soon, and like the sadness of like having missed it.
Yeah.
Of being like, this was significant, and I fucking missed most.
I wonder if
I don't know how old it was. It wasn't like you could turn. It wasn't like the cable had like the banner that told you like when it started or what. You didn't know when it was going to be on again.
You certainly can't pause it and rewind it or nothing like that. You can't DVR
and
it.
Just being like, not sad enough that like I cried over it, but just being like being like so excited that I discovered that this was on.
We're talking about a time when we had like the Jared, I think it's called the Jared. We didn't even have remotes back then. It was like the piano, which was like the ka-tong, ka-tong, and you had the flipper, so you had like about 30 channels. And it was like that was tethered to your on top of your TV, and you had to go up and like just hit that was how you changed channels, this little like piano type device.
But like
the Jared,
just the like extreme excitement of it. Like I can't even think of anything. Like I wish I could get that excited about anything today. And then the excitement being like completely just turned off by the fact that like the end credits were rolling, and I was like, I missed it.
My God.
And so, like, I think for that reason, this movie has always been really significant to me.
Yeah.
In a way that even though I saw Transformers the movie at the theater, like Transformers the movie wasn't, because this was like
There was a build.
I was given to it. It's like it was like a present.
Yeah.
And then it was taken away from me. So it was like almost like emotionally scarring.
Yeah, I wonder what the timeline is, if they premiered it first on TV, then they released it on video, or they were just like, dude, we'll do it simultaneously, fuck it. I remember, growing up, we went to the video store quite a bit, so I think either I saw it was coming out or it was there that day, and it was back in the day where you had, they wouldn't, near the end of the life of the video store, which you and I have covered on a sidecast we did on Podwits.com. Again, please check out our sidecast. We do some great other things, which are just various topics from music to movies to comics to horror to whatever. Check that out on Podwits.com, the sidecast. But we talked about near the end of the life of the video store, typically if a new movie came out, say The Mummy with Brendan Fraser, you'd get about 40 copies of that movie.
It was like a whole rack.
So you'd have a fair chance, if you got there the day the movie came out, there was a fair chance that you would probably get yourself a copy of the movie. But back in the 80s, when the video stores, they'd at most get 2, and that was a pop, like Batman.
Because a video cassette for them cost like $150.
Yeah, they'd only get 1 copy, so you'd have to wait. You'd have to put yourself on a waiting list. Like when it comes back in, I remember my dad used to grease the palm of these guys. Like, listen, here's $20. When it comes back in, just let my kid get the fucking tape. And I wore that G.I. Joe tape out, the Tommy K's, Hamden, Connecticut copy of G.I. Joe the movie, and I remember seeing it. And first off, I guess first impressions of seeing the movie back then was. To me, it seemed like a tear down from Transformers the movie, and I don't know why, because when I watched it now, when we just watched it, it doesn't seem... The only thing that I think is blatantly obvious between the two is that there isn't the big rock and roll rock soundtrack that was pushing Transformers the movie, that had the backing, because I saw a rare VHS promo for the movie, which I found on YouTube. Where they say, like, this multi-billion-dollar project. So it's like, I guess they put a shitload of money into G.I. Joe the movie. I would venture as much, or close as much as Transformers the movie.
I know that you're partial to Transformers the movie in terms of, like, it's a much more significant movie for you than it is for like, me, in terms of upbringing and, nostalgia and stuff. I would say, like, watching these pretty much back-to-back, like, G.I. Joe the movie is a way fucking better movie.
I think that
and the production values are way higher.
I think that they learned. See, it's hard for me to say that statement. I think they learned from their mistakes. Where I think there was, for Transformers the movie, maybe because it was getting a theatrical release, there was too many cooks in the kitchen.
And it seems like because G.I. Joe the movie was started first, Transformers the movie might have been rushed.
Yeah.
And also the other thing is, the Transformers movie was its target demographic, at least upon its initial. We talked about how they threw in a couple of curse words to kind of get a PG rating, but I think its initial like target audience when they were making it was 10-year-olds.
G.I. Joe or
Transformers.
Okay.
And G.I. Joe's target audience was 12-year-olds.
Yeah.
So in a way, there's a little bit of like a dumbing down, I think, of in terms of like the material.
Yeah.
And I think that G.I. Joe as a show, at least that first 2 seasons leading up to the movie, because I remember there being post-movie G.I. Joe where like Cobra Commander's a snake and stuff, but I don't remember them very well. Like, it wasn't like I watched it regularly.
I don't think that they used also where Transformers movie was a bridge from season 2 to season 3 of Transformers, the TV show. I don't think that wasn't really heavily relied upon, which we can get into. They kind of just got rid of all the stuff that happens. I've never seen any of those the characters that are introduced in G.I. Joe the movie, the Joes. They came out in toy form, but I never saw them again on any kind of TV show.
Like the Renegades and Falcon and stuff?
Yeah, I never saw them. Maybe now. I mean, we're talking recent years with G.I. Joe Resolute, or those movies, or the new G.I. Renegades, the G.I. Joe Carnations, or that CGI G.I. Joe show that came out like in the early odds. But initially in the 80s, I never saw Chuckles or Tunnel Rat. None of them really appeared.
Well, because there was a show like there was a post G.I. Joe show, but it wasn't on like weekday afternoons.
Well, I think that
it was
like,
on at like 8:30 in the morning, and it was on like while I was getting ready for school.
And I think that was when they were like struggling. That was like there was a time period where they were running out of things to do with G.I. Joe, so they were rehashing old vehicles and making them look different and having them that was when they were getting into like they spray water, the Cobra Vipers are making them like translucent colors, the Cobra Rattler, and it was like almost like the toxic force. Maybe they're trying to jump off the heels of like how Ninja Turtles was so successful with the ooze, so they were bringing like slime into it, and that was kind of like that kind of ran out by like 1990, late 80s when Ninja Turtles was taking over, Batman was coming into play, G.I. Joe kind of fell by the wayside, as did Transformers, and into the 90s they kind of fell off unless you were just really a huge collector or interested in them. And then the comic books still ran, but the toy line and the cartoons were gone.
Yeah,
I mean, you can always get a G.I. Joe in the toy store, and I think Transformers, I hear, likes to say they hold the record of there's been a Transformer in the toy store since the initial conception to this day.
Yeah,
you could still probably get a one-off Transformer or something, but it's just weird. Also, you don't have as many prevalent voice talent as you did for Transformers the movie, but you still have some pretty heavy hitters, and I would say some of their performances are better than a culmination of a couple in Transformers the movie. Certainly Judd Nelson versus Don Johnson, who was really coming off the Miami Vice craze at the time. He puts in a really good performance, I think, as Lieutenant Falcon versus Judd Nelson, who, like we said last time, just sounds like he's just reading lines off of a piece of paper.
Yeah, they didn't tell him like what situation it was.
Yeah, just do it.
Like what the character was going
do
through.
one for safety with emotion, but Johnson really sounds like he gives it his all. And I gotta say, Burgess Meredith for me just really hits it out of the park. He really is up there with Orson Welles. I loved Orson Welles as Unicron in Transformers the movie. I thought Burgess did just as good as a performance as Globulus. The plot of the movie is basically
it's crazy.
Yeah,
it's a wacky plot.
We have a great opening montage, which I think stands alone. It's almost like what's the director's name nowadays who does that? Like who did the Zack Snyder.
Yeah,
like Zack Snyder's kind of known for like doing like a mini movie before the credits. And that's like a perfect example like that. Which I read, there was early drafts of the script where that climactic battle at the Statue of Liberty was thinking of being the climax in the script of this movie, but then they just said, screw it, we'll just do a little vignette.
Yeah, it is like
intense.
The minute it fucking opens, man, you got to like put your seatbelt on.
I mean,
because it is, it's a musical, montage basically, but during this intense battle scene at the Statue of Liberty between G.I. Joe and Cobra, and I mean, it's like a tour de force.
And there's a new song. Yeah. We were just singing at the beginning of the cast.
They kind of revamp the G.I. Joe theme a little bit.
Yeah, it's crazy. They add new lyrics. There's a whole other. It's a whole different arrangement. I mean, I think it's just a whole new song they brought in, and they kind of sum up what G.I. Joe is in that thing. And then at one point when G.I. Joe is clearly starting to turn the tide of battle and have Cobra on the run, that's when you get in like G.I. Joe is the code name of the Special Mission Force. Their mission, and you're like, fuck yeah.
One thing I will say, there's this whole thing about Cobra Commander being a coward.
Well, so let's get into so that's the end of that vignette.
But it relates to something in the vignette. In the vignette, like Destro like hands Cobra Commander a bomb.
Yeah.
And Cobra Commander like jumps out of a plane with like a jetpack on or whatever, flies it to the
Statue of
Liberty, like plants the bomb. I was like, that's not a cowardice move. I mean, this is a guy
but it's interesting.
Who I mean, now he's not the quote unquote leader of Cobra, but it's a guy who was formerly the leader. Still kind of high up in the rankings of Cobra, getting his hands dirty.
Yeah, he definitely is. But it's interesting to see the subservient role in that little vignette too, that Destro is handing Cobra Commander this, so which means Serpentor must be in charge, because I don't think Cobra Commander, but he's like, I'm not going to do that.
Fuck you.
Yeah, he's like, go fuck yourself. He'd have Destro, one of the Dreadnoks. You should see Zartan doing that. So that ends, and then there's not even credits over that, and then there's a fade up, and you see like this is the movie stars. There's
the
credits over
music,
this.
man. I mean, not just that theme song, but like the actual music
For the movie itself.
Like it's the G.I. Joe music. So it was like brought back memories.
See, that's another thing. As we were talking about with Transformers, the movie, where they kind of, for the most part, I think there's some cues in there that could have been from the show, very little, maybe filler. In Transformers, the movie, in G.I. Joe, they use almost all the music from the show. Yeah. They're like, screw it, why the hell do we
music
need...
from the show?
It's pretty good.
It's great.
Yeah.
And there's some awesome cues from the show that aren't used in the movie.
Yeah.
But like all like the signature.
Yeah, all the ones. It's almost like
suspense,
for me, it's
you
like
know,
this,
like what's going on. G.I. Joe music.
It's like for me, it's like the Scooby Doo music. It's like, if you hear that, you'll know it from what is that from? It's G.I. Joe.
It's
Scooby-Doo.
orchestral. I mean, it's man, it's well, as soon as that opening sequence ends, and then the movie opens like on swamp.
Yeah.
And like that music cue came in, it was like I felt like I was like 8 again.
Yeah, it's great. And the plot is basically there's an infiltrator into the Technodrome or the Terradrome where the Cobra is, and the person gets through, and they basically tell Serpentor, we're a different race of people. We've been here forever. We want to help you. We want you to help us get this machine the G.I. Joes have. Cut to the G.I. Joes. G.I. Joe has this new thing called the BET, the Broadcast Energy Transmitter, which is going to be this new thing that's going to help the world.
Okay, here's the thing. I want to talk about the Broadcast Energy Transmitter.
Well, then the plot overview is that there's this other organization called Cobra Law.
Yeah.
Which you come to find out has been here since the beginning of time. Helped instrumental in the human race, and then instrumental in getting Cobra up, and it's a new force the Joes haven't ever dealt with before.
Yeah.
They team up with Cobra, and they have to try to battle it out for world domination and
we'll
world annihilation.
We'll get into them because
that's basically that's the bare bones plot.
Yeah, they need the BET, and G.I. Joe's gotta protect the BET, but we'll get into Cobra Law because there's a lot to get into there. But what I will say is this is a totally perfect example. The Broadcast Energy Transmitter is another example.
Not black entertainment television.
I've always said that G.I. Joe was always ahead of its time.
Yeah.
I mean, we talk about, there's like a Jurassic Park episode of the show where they're like genetically cloning like dinosaurs on some island.
Yeah.
That's, years before.
Yeah, Crichton saw the episode of G.I. Joe with his kids. He's like, maybe I should write that in the book.
Serpentor is genetically engineered
from the tombs of all the famous,
the great leaders of all time.
But like the murder, like Rasputin and Genghis Khan and all Napoleon, all the people who just, Alexander the Great that just went and just plowed the world over.
But he's genetically engineered. I mean, we're talking like this is 80s.
Yeah, I mean, you have the bats, which I used to love as a child, battle android troopers, those things that were just like autonomous android robots that couldn't be stopped in the battlefield. You had a lot of Dr. Mindbender was doing genetics at the time. You had a lot of
it was
forward-thinking ideas.
It was stuff that like didn't become into like, day-to-day vernacular for another
15 to 20 years.
Yeah, 10 at the least.
Yeah.
So the
Broadcast
BET, if you think about what the plots are of the last Dark Knight movie and the Avengers,
okay,
same plot. There is a device that is going to generate energy for the entire world. Like, no questions asked. It's going to it's going to change the way we live. It's like a free energy. And then somebody wants that to basically take over or destroy the world.
Yeah.
Or that is the plot for those two movies. That is the plot to G.I. Joe the movie. The BET is a device that through the airwaves will supply energy throughout the world.
Yeah.
Free energy. It will be a green solution
to everything. No more fossil fuels.
To everything. And Cobra Law needs it.
Yeah. Well, Cobra wants it for whatever reason. No, I guess Cobra didn't want it until Cobra Law's like, yo, we need it.
We'll get into why Cobra Law needs it.
Yeah.
But I mean, that is G.I. Joe the movie is another example of 1987 is a plot that for an action movie that does not come around till 2011 or
yeah,
whatever. Like, that's how far ahead of itself. G.I. Joe is.
The opening sequence of the actual movie with the Pythona, which is this really hot ass. If you're into
If you're into that shit.
if you're into that kind of thing, she is the assassin that breaks into the Terradrome. Or is it the Technodrome?
I think it's the Technodrome.
Okay, I want to say, Terradrome might be some movie. And that I always thought, and still watching it now, that is badass, her breaking in and just taking on. I mean, that's like almost like the Professional, Leon kind of stuff, where she goes in and she's using all this weird technology that we don't quite understand, but she takes on the entire complement of Vipers, Cobra troops, and she's able to get to Serpentor. And Serpentor still, and then prior to when she's breaking in, and we have this plot that you're saying that it starts off where, and it's interesting, this is the subplot that comes with the movie, that they're just blaming Cobra Commander for all the problems in Cobra.
He's like, I think he's a buffoon.
Yeah, he's an idiot.
There's this whole scene where they're just like
berating him, and he's like, "Hogwash, it's not my fault, and he's it's interesting, but it's true because he's basically what we've learned through the course of the show is that he is a coward when it comes to it. He's got a lot of ballsy ideas, but then, he's the one. It's interesting that, they cut back and he's like, he ruined our desert campaign. And he's like, we had run, but you countermanded my order. And it's like all this, So I think Serpentor's really, he's just pissed off. He's railing at his guys one night, and it becomes, all against Cobra Commander. And that becomes a plot through the movie, that Cobra Commander isn't really doing his shit. And I think that might have been the reason why they went and got Serpentor in the show in the first place. Yeah,
they were like,
they weren't happy with Cobra Commander, so let's just make our own guy.
Was not the best leader, and they decided. And so at this point at the top of the movie, the writing's on the wall for Cobra Commander. He realizes his days are numbered here.
Yeah, and he realizes held down for so long.
He realizes that nobody likes him.
Nobody sticks up for him. Not and I guess he hasn't made any friends, but Baroness has always been partial to Destro. We know, and it's interesting. It's kind of like the Megatron versus Starscream role is Cobra Commander and Destro. They're kind of at each other's odds, but I would say, to that point, Destro is far more intelligent than Starscream, and he gets Dr. Mindbender involved. They go make Serpentor. You have this other guy, this really super leader Serpentor, who's really just like a force to be reckoned with. He's
genetically engineered to be the best leader.
Yeah,
that's his whole purpose.
And we come to find out, when this girl breaks in and gets to him, when she reveals herself, he's having memories of who she is. She's like, I remember. And he's like,
in a dream.
And she's like, a vision. My mighty Serpentor. So then she's like, we need help getting this BET. Then then we find the exposition. The BET is going to do whatever we just said.
Yeah.
And then there's the first battle where it culminates in the G.I. Joes barely being able to push off Cobra's assault. And they must be in the Himalayan mountains. And Serpentor's captured. And then Cobra's on the run. And Cobra Commander's like, hey, I know where we can find Sanctuary. And it's like, okay, cool. We're in. I noticed from the beginning of the movie that the violence is kind of toned down in the sense we don't have people getting killed left and right like Transformers the movie. Yeah. But if you look closely, people are still getting pretty fucked up.
Yeah.
I mean, at the beginning of the movie, when she assaults the Technodrome, I mean, people are getting messed up.
Yeah. We see a Crimson Guard's head, helmet get popped off.
Yeah, and he's like, he's going blind and all, and people and then on that, it's almost like the walk of the Baton Death March where they're trying to get into the mountains, those Vipers that the motor Vipers are dropping like flies that are barely left, And they find Sanctuary in this weird place that I loved when I was little, quick kick, what is this, the Twilight Zone? I was like, oh, I know what the Twilight Zone is. And then you find out it's this place, Cobra La, and they take the Cobras in. They quickly capture the G.I. Joes, and then they reveal more of the culture, and you get introduced to a character which I have loved to this day, Nemesis Enforcer, which I think is such a great character, voiced by Peter Cullen. It's only grunts and moans, but who did Optimus Prime, so he was only there for a day.
He's like, okay, what do you need?
Great freaking character, and you find out that gradually that Cobra Commander knows these people.
Yeah.
And I don't know, where else are we going with this now?
Well, okay, so Cobra La is a civilization whose technology is based on organics.
amazing. I alluded to this in the last cast that I think that still to this day, this is some of the best writing I've ever seen, and it's this. I don't want to give this away because I'd like to use this someday, but this is a plot that has never been done. I mean, they talk about, if you think about the basic story of G.I.Joe the movie, is humans. Cobra Law had been around since the beginning of time. The Ice Age really messed them up. Then the barbarians,
it was like, you know, they were like a race of people, like a whole that were flourishing,
like almost like
40,000 years ago.
Yeah,
and then there was an Ice Age, and they had to take refuge.
And then like the Neanderthals came out. Then from the Neanderthals, the Homo sapiens, which evolved to us. They evolved, took over the Earth, but we based our technology and evolution on non-organic materials, where Cobra Law, on the other hand, based their technology on organic materials, which I find so fascinating and so creepy at the same extent. That there was a civilization that based their entire technology on organic, and it's so creepy and it's so nasty and it's so disgusting, but it's so cool.
Yeah, I mean, there's like, you know, there's little shades of lots of things, like the face huggers from Alien, and they're, you know, kind of like a similar thing is used as a weapon in battle. It's like it's a very interesting concept. I don't know inherently like how unique it is. Just like I just don't know enough about. You know, I know a lot about movies and sci-fi. I can't think of anything else that was kind of doing that.
I mean, to the extent where you have a civilization on Earth, I mean, you could call them aliens.
Yeah, like the bridge is a giant. Like if you have a bridge from one piece of land to another piece of land, you need to build a bridge. It's like a creature. It's not like it's like a living thing.
And that kind of
it's all very Cronenberg in a way.
It kind of really or what's his face, Geiger.
Yeah,
H.G. Geiger.
Yeah, you could see that there's probably a large kind of influence of the Geiger stuff on Cobra Law. It's also very, like I said, there's a lot of it that's very like Naked Lunch. There's a lot of
very vaginas in typewriters. Like you see a lot of like those noises and what so. As soon as they expose themselves to Cobra, who we are, their first thing, of course, is, how do you know Cobra Commander? And they say, Cobra Commander, they take him prisoner, and Cobra Commander knows exactly what's going on, which I think is great. Yeah. And
he picked like the lesser of two evils. He's like, I could get captured by the Joes, or I could take a chance with Cobra Law.
Hopefully
it's
they'll
been
take
a long
me back.
time since Cobra Law. Maybe they've forgiven me.
Well, they haven't. And you come to find out that they put him on trial now, and then you're introduced to their leader Globulus, played by Burgess Meredith, and he basically is the leader, and he's saying, you know, we sent Cobra Commander out to help us regain the
basically like, okay, they recognize that, you know, humanity has gone on its own tangent, you know, with space exploration, you know, the civilization that we all live in, and so Cobra Law's like, okay, you know what, we need somebody to go there and be like our, you know, our eyes and ears. You know, we need like an infiltrator into like what is now modern civilization. So they take a promising young scientist,
who is scarred,
which I think is also really interesting, because with the live action G.I. Joe movie, to my recollection, isn't the Joseph Gordon-Levitt.
Oh, he is kind of like
he's a scientist.
Well, I think that this kind of borrowed some from this mythology, the mythos.
And kind of the significant thing of like this backstory is that we see, if I'm not mistaken, right? I mean, we see what Cobra Commander looks like underneath the mask.
Yeah, we see what he looked like before. He has a horrible...
he has an accident in the lab.
Yeah, which scars his face. That's the reason why he wears the faceplate.
But the scarring is...
Oh, it's like he gets...
It's not even... It's scarring. Like he's got like 10 eyeballs.
Yeah, he just... It kind of morphs him into this other creature that's horrifying.
Because like the technology is all organic. Like what it does to you is organic.
It's freaky. Turns him kind of into a snake. So... basically, they're not happy with, you know, he has done everything that at the beginning of the movie, Serpentor and the other Cobra guys are saying.
Yeah, I think so. They send Cobra Commander into the world, And I guess he's supposed to be like the first stepping stone into like global domination.
Yeah, he's supposed to lead the way for Cobra La.
And so he puts together this force. That's the other thing that, I mean, obviously, look, terrorism has been an issue for a long time. But that's another thing that G.I. Joe is like...
the forefront of.
Yeah, is that like, they're a terrorist group. I mean, it says so in the beginning credits.
Well, that's been changed nowadays, I think. You know, they've taken that out.
I know, but in the day...
Yeah, it was a terrorist organization, you know...
known as Cobra.
Planned to rule the world.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And now in the age of, you know...
global terrorism.
War on terrorism. I mean... But the interesting thing is that, like... There's always been this notion of... You know, who's backing Cobra? I mean...
Yeah, where they're getting their bankroll to be able to have...
so there's always been these hints that, like... Topaz and Zaymon.
Tomax and Zaymon.
Tomax and Zaymon.
Yeah, they have
they have a corporate organization, and they're kind of like
a dummy Cobra's just funneling
that's
in like
funding. But the idea is that Cobra La has been, I don't know where Cobra La is getting like modern currency, but they're really the ones that are kind of backing.
And not only that, they're
Cobra.
actually implanting like they say that they gave the idea of Serpentor, and Dr. Mindbender's like, bullshit. You know, I didn't. And they're like, no, and like see, and then like Destro's like, no, couldn't you even think about that? They did this, and he's like, you know, and Galabulus is like, correct. We just, you know, we had like a little like psychic motivator.
Correct.
You know, correct. And they, you know, they're implanting with like spiders giving psychic motivators. They're planting these ideas. So they're behind the scenes, just kind of plotting Cobra's course of action up until this point. So they want to.
So basically, they now see their end. They realize Cobra Commander, even Serpentor, not really doing it. They realize that they have a plan for world domination, which is very
lofty.
Invasion of the modest actors.
Yeah, and it's very terrifying.
And they need the BET to execute it.
Yeah, they have these spores. They're going to shoot up in orbit. Once they're in orbit, when they're in they're orbiting the Earth, the BET is going to send energy up into the atmosphere, heat up the spores there so that they ripen, explode, come down, and when they enter our atmosphere, release this kind of neurotoxin.
Which essentially, you know, for lack of a better example, is going to turn us into zombies.
Yeah, zombie flesh-eating ghouls.
Mindless.
You know, it's going to devolve us to basically, like, I guess, 28 days later kind of shit.
Yeah.
You know, and it's very terrifying. And that was their and that's how they're going to take back the world. And it's like, oh, okay. And first things first.
All right, sounds good.
They're going to get rid of Cobra Commander because he's fucked up. They're going to make an example of him. So, and Cobra Commander's like, you know what? He's pulling out all the stops. It wasn't my fault. It was him. It was my shoes that day. No, destroy, you know. And I had a cold. Yeah, no. Again, great work by Chris Latta, who we talked about in the last cast, who does Starscream and stuff, and other miscellaneous characters, voicing Cobra Commander. And they take revenge on him. They expose him. They say he's guilty. They expose him to some spores, fuck him up. Then they try to put him into a holding cell with the G.I. Joes who they captured, who were following Cobra when they sought a refuge in Cobra La.
I love that they're like, you know, all right, they put spores on him. They're like, basically, which is de-evolving him, which is like horrifying.
Yeah, it's such a crazy...
Which we can talk about kind of more, but the scene is very funny because like then Galabulus is like, you know, I'll get rid of him.
No, yeah.
And
Serpentor's like, no.
And Baroness and like Destro are like, no.
Serpentor says, yeah, he's like, let's put him in. And if it's funny because as a child, I don't realize the words, but it's funny if you listen to Burgess Meredith, Galabulus like, that's a bit melodramatic. Fine.
They're like, let's put him in with the Joes so they can see what their fate's going to be like. And he's like, Galabulus like, yeah, it's a little bit over the top.
But I'm digging it.
All right. Cool.
Nemesis Enforcer, stick him in there. And then right as they're opening the cell doors, this is when G.I. Joe mounts a kind of counterattack. They're able to escape. They're quickly taken over, and the little revolution's quelled by Cobra La. But Roadblock is able to get away, and it's a brilliant little scene where I love where Nemesis Enforcer goes after him. And, you know, he throws some shit into Roadblock's eyes. He can't see, and he goes black and white.
I can't see.
Yeah, I'll be your eyes. Run. And it's like, you know, and he's able to, like, fend off Nemesis Enforcer, which really pisses Nemesis Enforcer off. But they're able to get away, Roadblock and Cobra Commander, barely. And it's interesting, I'll bring up now, since we're talking about Roadblock. I always thought Roadblock was a bit cheesy in the show because he's just kind of like, I wouldn't
rhymes.
say everyone says he raps his
Like, woe is me, I can't see.
But I gotta say, in this movie, this viewing, I was really digging. You know, it's really cool. You know, like the stuff he was saying, like, you know, just a lot of his rhymes, which like really like, I don't know. I felt it was appropriate. It wasn't kind of like I don't know, just like talking down to children. I thought it was really, this is what he does. Okay, fine. But once you get past that, it's kind of startling what he's saying. Like, you know, like. Not like Cobra Stew, what do we do? But he was saying some like ominous stuff, like, you know, I don't know. I can't think of anything off the top of the head. But I was really digging it with him and the dialogue between him and Cobra Commander.
It's a cool, like, unexpected dynamic. And basically, what happens to Cobra Commander, spoiler alert, is that he's de-evolving into a snake.
Yeah, gradually, which over the course of, I guess, maybe not a
and
couple
so
days.
There's one point where, like, he's getting there. He's pretty fucked up, and he's fucking losing his shit.
Yeah.
He's like, I used to be a man.
Yeah, yes. And then he's like, stop saying that, you drive me crazy. And then they start fighting. He's like, don't you think?
But like, he's like losing his shit. And
they're like in the middle of a whiteout.
Yeah, and Roadblock's like, look, if you lose your shit, we're both going to die. Yeah. Like, pull yourself together, dude.
And then there's that real startling scene right after they escape where they're stuck in the river and his faceplate comes off. And I remember, and it's another interesting.
Your faceplate.
Yeah, and he looks up and then you see Cobra Commander, but it's kind of a cheat because you don't see what he looks like. You see what he's now evolving into. The
but
snake.
I think what we see in the flashbacks, I'm pretty sure that's got to be what he looks like before.
To a certain extent,
you know, with like he's like bald and blue-ish, with like a shitload of eyeballs, and so now we see his faceplate comes off, but he's already kind of morphing into a giant snake.
Yeah, and he's still kind of he's already going crazy,
which is horrifying. Like this idea of like de-evolution.
Yeah.
Losing your humanity, becoming something primal and something that, like, you know, most people don't like.
Yeah.
You know, there's a very cheesy but awesome movie from the 70s called which is like 7 S's, starring Dirk Benedict.
Yeah, which we talked about on the
which I just love.
Sidecast.
And that's the idea of that movie, is that he through like an experiment starts kind of evolving into a snake. Just this whole notion, and it's horrifying in terms of like a movie that's geared towards 12-year-olds is dealing with some pretty heavy themes. I mean, this idea of an entire race, for the most part, I think supposed to be portrayed as kind of more advanced than us, but with a technology that is organic and more primal. I mean, it's very much like playing on this idea of like the Ewoks versus the Empire.
Yeah.
Of like something primitive versus something very, what we think of as being technologically advanced. Although in this circumstance, they are very technologically advanced. It's just a totally different kind of technology, which is very out there. And then this whole idea of that, like, the ultimate punishment is going to be not to execute you or to, you know, to torture you in like a traditional sense or whatever. It's going to be like, I'm going to turn you into something less.
Which is going to take a while, and then they're just going to throw you away into like the woods, or to like, you know, into the wilderness like they used to do in the old cultures. You go up to the mountain and die, and you're going to have to deal with your mind because you're de-evolving.
Because let's face it, a snake, you know, it's a living organism. That's an animal that can survive its climate. Yeah. But a cobra snake, not surviving in the Himalayas. No. Yeah. He's not getting very far.
No, it's a crazy notion, and it's interesting then how that plays out. I think, to touch on that, the animation overall is good, but I feel that it's pretty spectacular in close-up.
Yeah.
Which is like that scene where you see Roadblock in the water find his faceplate and the two of them talking, and like there's a lot of instances where when they're in like mediums or they're in close-ups where the animation is really, really fucking good.
The other thing I think is really great about the animation, which I kind of thought of, And I can't remember what it's like in this TV series because it's been a really long time.
I think it's kind of the par of Transformers, where it's okay, but it's nothing to like these movies.
Just
level.
the action of there's this whole other subplot which we should talk a bit about, which is like this Lieutenant Falcon.
Well, this is Act 2, where they're like they've lost half their G.I. Joe's like shit. Half of our company's been captured. We need to get the new recruits going up quickly. So they have like Jinx, they have Tunnel Rat, they have Big Lob, they have Chuckles, and they have this guy Lieutenant Falcon.
But before we get into that, one thing I was going to say about the animation is there's this part where there's Lieutenant Falcon, he parachutes out of a helicopter.
Yeah. Just
the animation of like the parachuting, I thought was like really great.
Or even him like being, when he gets out and he's like, they kick him out of the helicopter and he's like, and then like they voice him like going like, because it's like he's like, oh my god,
yeah, like the wind and but like the pulling of the ripcord and then like the sudden like
jolt from you,
the jolt of it, like the the momentum being stopped by the. I just thought like when I saw it, I was like, wow, that's like a really like great piece of animation because it's something that like you wouldn't think of as being kind of complicated.
Yeah.
But the idea of like the parachute opens, you're suddenly stopped from free fall, and then suddenly you're gliding.
Well, that's interesting because that's an idea they play at the very beginning when you see the Cobra troops at the Statue of Liberty jumping out. You see them coming out, and then that one guy, he starts coming close frame, and he opens his parachute, so it kind of stops on a very extreme close of his eyes, and it comes back, and you see, the parachute has stopped him, and then he comes back up into like a long shot. I thought it was really cool. And that's to bring up, I guess, voice talent. Frank Welker doesn't play a big part in this movie as he did as Megatron and other people in Transformers, but he does a little cameo in this as Wild Bill. He's Wild Bill's the helicopter pilot's voice, and he's flying the helicopter pilot. The helicopter with a lift ticket to throw Falcon to go see Sergeant Slaughter.
One of the things I find interesting about G.I. Joe watching it now, because when you're a kid, you don't really realize it, but like kind of the amount of thought that went into creating individual characters in terms of voicing, like, Beachhead, and there's like, was it Dial Tone has like a Boston accent.
Yeah. As does Blowtorch.
And, just like this idea of like, this is a group of people that isn't just necessarily from America, even though it's, G.I. Joe's an American thing, but like just culturally that there's all this group of people. It's very like Star Trek in a way, like this, like all these different kinds of people brought together. And obviously this kind of thought that went into being like, okay, let's have somebody. The one that doesn't work for me is Law and Order.
Oh, yeah.
Which we'll get into. But this idea is like everybody has like, we have someone from Boston. We have somebody from Texas.
Well, they play on that in the live action movies because they drop it's an American. G.I. Joe is no longer an American organization. It's just like an international organization.
Yeah, yeah.
They wanted to, I guess, kind of be PC and bring everybody in so that the theatrical live action movie can play well, I guess, across the world.
Yeah.
So I guess when Act 2 opens is that, they have all these new recruits and they're training them, and you have this little montage of Beachhead training all these guys. And it's very funny during this montage because it's quite dangerous.
Yeah, they could die.
They're like shooting. There's live rounds being shot. There's a lot of crap going on. I mean, there's a scene with Chuckles.
Explosions.
Chuckles is driving a HISS tank and Beachhead's just standing on top of it, and he picks up the missile and he throws the missile at it, and he's being shot. It's like very dangerous. Or the scene is Law and Order.
The Chuckles is one I don't quite.
Well,
understand.
he never even speaks.
Yeah.
He reminds me of the Don Johnson, Miami Vice guy. Because he's got like a Hawaiian shirt on, but he just never says anything.
And
maybe that's the joke because his name is Chuckles. He doesn't say a word.
Maybe, yeah. And there's a part where they need to get a chopper going, and then he just ends up riding the chopper on top of the chopper.
Yeah, and he watch out for the, he didn't learn anything from Vic Morrow's decapitation in Twilight Zone the movie. So it's interesting. And then you come to find out it's like John Johnson's character Lieutenant Falcon isn't at the where he should be being trained. Yeah. He's messing around with this girl named Heather, which I thought when I was little was so hot. That girl, Heather. Real cute. And then you find out like Duke shows up and Duke's like, you're bringing a civilian onto a base with a
she's
camera.
Got a camera.
It's like, what the hell? I'm taking that film. And then Jinx, one of the new recruits, escorts her out, and there's like a little like tension there between them. And then she drives to like a nearby like lake, gets naked, which I thought was so hot when I was little.
Yeah,
She's, like,
it's
in
so
this bathing suit.
it's so weird to think about.
Very
it, like,
Japanese animation.
In hindsight, like I think you hear about like people growing up. I mean, obviously, like Gilligan's Island, for instance, was kind of still a relevant thing for us in rerun. But this idea of like back in the day, we weren't. Certain things were not as easily accessible. And so you hear about like people's whole, like their adolescence and like their maturing had to do with like Ginger and Marianne.
Yeah.
I mean, for like our generation, it's very strange because like our generation has like these kind of like
cartoons,
sexual beings to a certain extent, and they're cartoons like Jessica Rabbit, and like Lady J,
the Baroness. Scarlet. This girl, Zartana, and then this Heather ends up being like a Cobra plant. She's one of the Dreadnoks, and I love how the Dreadnoks are like all Cockneys. Yeah, they're all and they sound very good. Their accents aren't like shitty English accents. Yeah. They're pretty good Cockney, like East End or South End.
And she's Zartan's sister.
Yeah, and she gets the information to break out Serpentor. And then it's interesting because then they're holding Serpentor, and much like the G.I. Joes, the Joes who are being held in Cobra La, they're never stripped of their weapons. They're just still in their uniform. So like Cobra Command, Serpentor's still in his outfit.
Yeah.
You think they would try to take anything off him because he might have like a key, a skeleton key or whatever. Same thing with Lady J. You see Lady J when she's captured in Cobra La, she still has her freaking spears for her arrows on her, she still has her quills, and it's like, oh well. So the Dreadnoks then, again, Falcon, who's a real dick in the movie to begin with. Yeah. Falcon's a real arrogant asshole.
He needs an arc.
Yeah.
In his his arc is very different, but similar at the same time as like Hot Rod's arc in Transformers movies, in that he's like, except for it's much more exaggerated, and that he's like the young guy that has to come into his own. And in Falcon's case, it's not that he needs to come into his own to become a leader, but he has to like he has to become a man, essentially. Like he can't be like an immature
chasing women around his whole life.
Like he needs to take responsibility for his actions.
Yeah.
And he needs to basically step up to the plate, and
she finally does, which is he has, I guess, like a moment where he's like, oh shit, I need to like just he does evolve.
Yeah.
It's
it's interesting, like how it's much more interesting in this movie of how that evolution of that character arc takes place than, say, Transformers.
Well, you see the ramifications of his direct insubordination. Like, people are freaking almost killed.
They're talking about executing him.
Yeah, well, I mean, you look, though, because
they're going to execute him for treason. And Duke's like, well, he's my brother.
He's my half-brother, And they're like, all right. And Hawk's like, for fuck's sake, you didn't tell anybody this. I didn't know that on your file. I didn't see I didn't realize the last name.
Send him to the slaughterhouse.
Yeah. And, but he abandons his post to try to get some ass from Jinx. And because of that, the Dreadnoks are that easier to break in.
Aren't you supposed to be on guard duty?
He's like, no one's going to break in.
Nothing's going to. They're going to have to
do this.
They're going to need the security card. It's okay. Let's say that they copy the security card. Then they're going to have to get through, the force field. And then they're going to have to do this.
It's like 6 feet of concrete. And then they do all that, and they're able to get Cobra Commander out.
And then they're going to have 3 Joes. It's not just unlikely. It's impossible. And then it's like the alarm goes off. He's like, oh, fuck.
It's like, you are a bad
You got to be fucking kidding me.
I can't fucking believe this shit. But he really almost like Alpine, Bazooka, and Gung Ho are almost killed.
Yeah.
By the Dreadnoks and Nemesis of Forcer and Pythona getting Serpentor out, but they're able to get, which is interesting because you think about, we're talking about stuff that happens before that repeats itself in modern movies. Isn't that the plot of like The Dark Knight and Skyfall, where you have the bad guy captured and he's sitting in a jail cell, and by the end of Act 2 they're able to take him out again? Although I think in The Dark Knight and Skyfall that was kind of their plan to get captured and have that scene of like, I'm going to take over. But you kind of have that happening. They're able to take Serpentor. They fuck everything up. They're able to grab the BET. Like you said, they're going to execute freaking Falcon because he's an idiot.
Yeah,
and then
like,
Duke steps up to the plate and is like, you know what? He's my half brother. Please give him some leniency.
He's got a Joe, and he could become a Joe.
Which I don't even know at this point why Duke's because he's being such a dick to Duke even after like I don't need you sticking up for me, big brother. So they like you said they send him to big brother. They send him to the slaughterhouse, which is great. This is I guess maybe I don't know if this is Act 2 or into Act 3, but
I guess this is I mean because there's like kind of two plots going on. This ends up being Act 2 for that story.
Yeah. They send him to the middle of nowhere where Sergeant Slaughter really takes on new recruits that are
it's
problems.
Like the problem children, and then gets real harsh.
And he plays a good role in it, I think, Sergeant Slaughter.
Oh, I love that arc. Like that whole part of the plot. Like I think that's great. I mean, the fact that it's like, like look, you're not cutting it. You got an attitude problem, so we have to send you. So they, it's a much more primitive kind of way of training. It's much more raw. It's very Rocky IV to a certain extent.
Yeah.
And that's why he. I mean, it's in direct relation to his training at the slaughterhouse, and then a very important event that happens, as to like he does grow up. I mean, that's where the character they get assigned to break into the Technodrome.
Yeah,
like Hawk calls up. I guess Duke calls up Slaughter. He's like, "We need you to infiltrate the Technodrome." I don't remember why.
Just to fuck shit up.
Just go fuck shit up. and he's like, "All right." So they go, and Falcon kind of lags behind.
Well, I like how first Falcon's like, "You guys think you're fucking, men? Let's go into it with no weapons." And so I was like, "You're on."
Challenge accepted.
All the other guys like, "Oh, you fucking asshole," and they go in there unarmed.
So they go in just to set bombs, and then they're gonna leave. And Falcon kind of gets left behind, and the Renegades they're called, which is like a group of 3 guys that Sergeant Slaughter's in the middle of training. They're like, you know what, fuck them, like let's get out of here. The bomb's gonna go off, and Slaughter's like, no man, no man gets left behind. We either all leave or we all stay.
Yeah, we all go home or nobody goes home, and they go back in for him, which is great.
Yeah, and Falcon's like, you came back for me?
And he's like, yeah, but it's like he's getting the shit kicked out of him. He's delaying because he knows the whole place is going to blow up. And Serpentor is like...
Serpentor's like, and it's blood coming out of his mouth.
That's what I'm saying. That's the first time you see blood. And I remember that was like, whoa, he's bleeding because Serpentor is beating the shit out of him.
Slapping him in the face. And he's
got some blood coming off his lip. And he's like, oh, you're right. I can't hold out for much longer. I have to hold out for like 5 more minutes.
And then it cuts to the clock of the bomb ticking down. He's like, I just need to hold out for 5 minutes.
And then Slaughter comes in with his renegades and... there's a big fight, and I love. Then there's a little fight with Nemesis Enforcer and Slaughter, and he throws a face hugger on him. And Nemesis Enforcer's a badass, but they're able to get out just in time. The whole place blows up. I love there's the various Vipers. You see the different Cobra troops in this scene at the Technodrome. And I remember one of the things I used to love is I had the Night Raven, which is the black plane the Cobras had, which was the next step after having the Rattler.
Yeah.
And they came with a Strato Viper, which was the pilot. And there's a scene where like they're in the Jeffrey tubes in the Technodrome, and they're looking out, and you see like Serpentor's telling them like, you're gonna fly the BET back to Cobra La, and he's like giving the Strato Vipers a pep talk. And I used to love, you'd always get the cards. Then you read about them, and I remember being such taken aback because they were saying
the card's a case for anybody that didn't collect G.I. Joes in our era. The figures would come with a cardboard backing with a really awesome painted graphic,
of them in action with
them in pose, and then you have the figure, and on the back. The top half of the card, or top 2/3 of the card, was pictures of the other action figures.
The ones you can get.
The other ones you can get. And then the bottom section, which you could cut out.
Probably a third of it.
Yeah, it was a good third of the card was like his file.
Yeah, like a byline.
And it was like a little, it was like a little rectangle with like a little tab up front so that you could put them in like a little
file,
a little like,
rifle through them.
You know, like a little, index, of thing, and you could rifle through them. And, so it was like, you would get like real names,
Stats.
height, it was all the statistics. So
and then like a write-up on them, like what they're, and the write-up,
bio.
Yeah, the write-up with the Stratovipers was like that they had something surgically planted in their lungs so that they can fly higher, and they're used to like thinner air for the night ravens. And I thought that was so cool and so freaky that these guys would undertake this for Cobra. And I remember actually the first G.I. Joe base, the gray one, there was the it was this 3-part thing that had like the big cannon on the front that you'd see like every time they'd establish their G.I. Joe headquarters, that base that you'd sell. They had motor pool on either side where you can just put like a vehicle onto like a thing, and then you can hit a button and it would like raise it up so they can work on the undercarriage. But one of them you could take off the top, and it had a little area where you can put all those files. Yeah. And then you'd shut it, and then you can have like the car drive over it. It was really cool. So I dug that. I loved how you saw like the different Vipers in there and all the kind of like season 2 G.I. Joe Cobra guys. So they blow up the Technodrome, but Serpentor and Cobra La basically are escape. And I think you're right there. That's when Falcon realizes, shit, I'm being a dick.
He's like, holy fuck! Like they came back for me. Like there's a responsibility. There's a team, and we have a responsibility of each other. In a lot of ways, his arc is very much like Kirk's in the new Star Trek movie. Yeah, and that he's like a bit of a hothead. He's got potential, but he's got to fucking pull his shit together.
He's chasing tail left and right. That's all he's cared about. Getting some pussy.
He just cares about getting laid. And he's got to pull his shit together.
So then there's I guess at the end of Act 2, maybe, there's another huge climactic battle where Cobra finds out, of course, what the BET is, because, again, no one ever thinks that the women or any, like, Baroness infiltrates Baroness is real hot. She takes off her helmet and she's
they're like, they'll never think to look for it in, like, a civilian security.
As she's running off. Oh, see you later, woman.
Yeah, like, how did she even know to go there?
I don't know. She's been there for weeks, and she finds out. They mount this huge counter battle with the help of Cobra La. And I guess it's something interesting to note, which I didn't pick up before. I hope this cast isn't so convoluted for people. Is once they capture back Serpentor and they're bringing him back to Cobra La for his first chance to see Cobra La and meet Globulus and get up to speed what they're doing with Cobra Commander and putting them on trial. You see them, like we said, everything is based off of organics and animals, so they have this flying machine that looks like this worm, and I always find it really cool that there's a scene when you see them flying back to the Himalayan mountains to where they are. You see like the Himalayans on the side of the mountain in tents, and like these are the guys that probably see Yetis all the time and no one believes, and they see this thing going like, oh, and they fall over and their tent gets knocked over because they see this bug thing flying over making its way, and of course no one's going to believe them or whatever. You have then they mount this huge counterattack with Cobra La helping with all these different worms and stuff. And another thing, this is not a very PETA-friendly movie if you think about it, because there's so many injuries to these poor insects. Like they're getting destroyed.
It's casualties of war.
Yeah, exactly. And they're successfully able to get the BET, to bring it back to Cobra La. And in the process, there's this huge, big battle where like it looks like a lot of people are freaking just fucked. And Duke is severely injured, where Serpentor mounts a fight against Falcon.
Yeah, he's like, you know what? Serpentor's like, I'm going to finish kind of what I started.
Yeah, and he already knows, like, your brother, I guess I said later on, but he's like, you're an idiot, blah blah. You're the one who caused all this, and he stretches one of his snakes, and then of course Duke comes in and Duke takes the shot for him, and it's a real nasty like, and then like if you
takes one in the chest,
and you see. If you turn the volume down, Duke dies.
Duke, I mean, Duke's that scene is his death scene. I mean, everybody's reaction is. I mean, it's actually a very heavy.
I was going to say I teared up watching it. I haven't seen it in 20 years, but it's like real, especially when Hawk. Of course they've changed it because of Optimus Prime's death, but like
I mean, there's like, a couple of lines. Into a coma. Yeah, there's just like kind of pickup lines, but for the most part, other than like maybe 2 lines that they kind of dubbed in there,
he's dead.
I mean, their reaction is like, Duke's like, you know what? Like, don't sell the father.
Yeah.
You know, he's like, oh, come on, Duke, you can make it. He's like, not this time.
And I've been around.
Oddly enough, I think he takes the spear to the heart, but in the death scene, I think they move the blood over to the other side.
Yeah, it's like near his shoulder or his lung area.
They move it over to like the other side of his chest, and like people are teared up. Scarlett's holding him, holding Duke.
He kind of passes
Falcon's
out,
moving over.
and she's like, he's fallen into a coma. And then what's really got me on this latest viewing is like, you know, even Hawk is like, we'll try to do everything we can for Duke, and he turns away and he's like, yo, Joe, and tears go down his, and he doesn't want his men to see him. I was like, oh, that's tough. That's tough to watch. So now then the climactic battle is the Joes mount a second attack to try to get the Cobra La with everyone they have left, led by Flint, because they sent a rescue party to try to find the first Joes that went after the Cobras for that initial first attack.
We know we lost Roadblock's group.
We need to go after them. They find Cobra La. They start to go after them.
Well, they stumble upon, not even stumble upon, Roadblock and Cobra Commander stumble upon them.
Well, they stumble upon a bit of the rescue party, and they're told, Roadblock's told that like they're already mounting a counterattack. We found Cobra La, and Roadblock's like, no, you can't do that because I got to tell you about Hat. You know? So
it's a trap.
Yeah.
Give me my cap.
and he tells him like, it's a trap. It's a trap.
It's a trap. It's a trap.
And then Hawk's like, what do you mean it's a trap? And right before they're able to,
and then on cue,
they all get captured again, and they're like, fuck. And Roadblock's like, shit. Now that they do, what do we do? And then it's funny. The recruits
take a hit.
The recruits are like, you know, left at G.I. Joe base and with Falcon, and they're like, what are we gonna do? And Falcon's like, fuck it, we're gonna go together. And I love how the next scene they're already arriving on the helicopter, so it's like, you know, it's that quick that their helicopter's able to get from like mid-America to the Himalayas.
Yeah. Well, they jump on. Chuckles has got a. Was that maybe that's earlier?
That's earlier. Yeah, it's in that battle with when they get the BET.
This guy. The funniest thing about that scene is like the new recruits. At some point, there's a battle earlier, like Dion said, where they get the BT. So
where Duke gets injured.
Yeah, that battle. So the new recruits are like, fuck it, we're going. There's this old beat up helicopter. They jump on. Jinx apparently is like a whiz with like mechanics. She hotwires the thing, but they can't get it going. Chuckles, the Don Johnson type G.I.
Silent.
Joe, he has to get on top of the helicopter underneath the propeller and get the propeller going. And then he just like holds on to the top of the helicopter all the way there. And then they get shot down.
Yeah, and he's able to ride it down through a building, and everyone's all right.
Because he's not in. Because thank goodness he wasn't in the helicopter, because then it cuts to them inside like the broken building, and he's the one like pulling all the debris away to get them out.
And it's he's in a short sleeve Hawaiian shirt that's only buttoned by like one button
with like a vest holster and like a pair of jeans.
Yeah, he's very Sonny Crockett undercover. He's fine. He's helping everybody get off. It's very funny. But they mount then this final attack. Led by Falcon and the knowledge that Cobra Commander, before he completely regresses into a snake, helps him get in. And then the strengths of the new recruits like Tunnel Rat, who's able to, hey, let's go in through the water supply. Yeah. They're able to get in, and they mount this big climactic battle, which saves the day, and they're able to overcome Cobra La, kill everybody, get rid of Nemesis Enforcer.
Epic. It's an epic battle.
And it's very good.
Battle.
And I love the little nuances, like we're at the, like with, Galabulus talking about when this time worm finishes.
Oh, yeah.
That's such a cool idea that there's like a stick with a worm that's going to go up.
Basically, they've activated the BET, and the big spore,
things have already
things are already in orbit. So he's basically like, he's holding like a rod, and he's like, when this time worm finishes its journey.
It's so cool. It's like,
the spores will be released, and he's just like holding a stick.
And the world will be ours. And it's like, whoa, this is really cool. And then there's this big battle with Sergeant Slaughter fights Nemesis Enforcer again. He kicks his ass, which I think is kind of silly because he just throws him down a trench. When Nemesis Enforcer has wings, so he can probably get away.
Yeah.
But you don't.
But there's a lot of
a
lot of wrestling moves.
Yeah, so that's what I was going to say. It's interesting. You may laugh or disagree, but I find it that he gets the better of Nemesis and Enforcer. He's he's pile driving him. He's saying like
first he like body slams him, and then he's giving him the elbow, dropping the elbow.
Yeah, he's dropping some elbows. He's like, "This is for my mother. This is for Duke. This is for Optimus." And then the last thing he says is, "This is for the U.S. of A." And I think that would never get put in today because people are so PC about America, and it seems nowadays it's so I don't know. It's so anti being pro America. I think
even
that would never,
even Superman's not American.
Yeah,
anymore.
so I think that line would never make it in that this is for the U.S. of A. because people would find that too like bourgeois or whatever. So they get rid of him. Then there's the battle between Falcon and Globulus, and there's a wrestling match. And I love he takes the Time Worm's freaking rod, spears Globulus through the eye.
I know, but you don't see it.
But you do for a glimpse, though, because he rips it out and throws it at him.
I know.
And you see it just hit the ground, and then
it's clever editing because
Yeah.
it's totally implied. Like, you know what he did.
he speared him in the eye. You see him rip it out, and you see him throw it at him, and then it just cuts to like a ground shot of it hitting the ground while Falcon's running to the BET, turns it off, and then there's quick cutaways of everyone looking like, is he turning the BET off? And it cuts to Globulus, and there's a freaking hole in his eye. It's disgusting. And he turns it off, and then he's able to get away. And then at the end of it, the denouement is that Cobra blows up, which I'm like, what happened to the whole population of Cobra? I don't know what happened to them. And the day is saved. Then they get a call on the radio, and they're like, freaking, hey, Doc's like, good news. Duke's come out of his coma.
There's more to it than that.
What else? What am I missing?
He turns it off.
Oh, they're like,
but the spores have
they've ripened. It's going to happen anyway.
Spores already happened, so
Yeah.
fuck you. So then he's like, well, then I'm gonna fucking supercharge.
Yeah, he overheats the thing. They fry the spores in element.
Sends like excess energy,
Gamma rays,
into the atmosphere to cook all the spores.
and he does, and it overheats the BET, which blows up
And that's
BET and Cobra.
That's what blows up Cobra.
They're all able to escape,
Yeah, and then Doc's like, good news, guys. Duke's out of his coma.
he's all right. He's gonna be okay.
And then it's like that and
it's like everyone's like everyone's like getting better, and then at the last scene,
it's like the end of like Return of the Jedi. They look up and it's like the Death Star is destroyed, and in this case, it's like the spores are
and
coming
Jink's
out.
like, oh look,
the Ewoks are dancing, and
the final spores are coming down from orbit. It's like, oh, it's so and you see like the ghosts of Optimus Prime show up by the torch, and he's like, good work. Autobots, G.I.Joes, roll out. It's very nice. And then it ends. But it's certainly left up for sequels where you could have you can have Cobra come back. Because clearly Pythona could have survived. Clearly Nemesis.
Well, like I said, there is a whole third season that is post, but I don't remember it. Like I never really watched it, so I don't.
Evidently,
know. I know the Cobra Commander is a snake in it.
Well, he gets a new outfit. They give him this silver kind of, and it's.
But at the beginning of that season, there is a season
where he's a snake.
Yeah. So it's obviously post.
But that's probably the only thing that's taken away from the comic book. Really never followed that byline of the movie, and it seems that the movie was kind of an unpopular idea. What happened because they kind of nixed. You never saw again any of Cobra, and that's never really come up again. To a certain extent,
la la la.
Yeah, Cobra la 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 la. I mean, Serpentor does that great when they're going to get the BBT. Cobra la 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 la. And evidently, Cobra.
It was funny. There was something that I wanted to watch again or something, so I rewound it, and then I went too far, and on my player, if you hit like the fast forward once, it just speeds it up, and you can still hear it. So it was like la 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 la.
You're like, whoa. Well, evidently they said they came up with that for they lack of a better term. They just came up with Cobra La, and they were going to come up with a better name for this group. But then, like either Hasbro or somebody loved it so much, you're like, no, keep that. We love the name Cobra La, and that was the end of it. But it never was really used again. They could have really took Globulus and all them and Cobra La and have a resurgence, but that didn't happen. And it's just interesting that never was really played again. They just kind of like buried all that mythos. Yeah. Like I said, we never saw any of those characters again. Falcon and they came out in a 3-pack, which I had Christmas of '87. They had Globulus in a pack with just him as a snake, like the half snake.
The snake bottom. I had that.
You had Nemesis Enforcer, and then it had the guard.
The red guard. Yeah.
That evidently, from what I was reading, was not a lot of people had, which I did.
Yeah, I had it too.
Yeah, there was a 3-pack. And then there was also a 3-pack with the 3 Sergeant Slaughter guys. came in a 3-pack.
I think I traded. Did you do that with Joe's? You would
well,
sometimes trade with your friends.
Yeah.
I think I traded for the Renegades.
Yeah, and
I don't think I bought them. I think I
traded them away and got them.
or traded a vehicle.
So they must
or
have
something.
been a couple 3-packs out at the time for them.
Yeah.
And aside from those toys, Chuckles got made. I know Tunnel Rat got made.
Jinx got made.
Jinx
I don't
got
think
made.
the basketball guy
No,
got
he didn't
made.
get made until recently. I just was reading Big Lob only got like a toy or something.
I had Tunnel Rat. You know, when you get the figures, like you would get the figures before the show.
Yeah.
Like, you know, I had I had Tunnel Rat.
Yeah.
But like I just described in the beginning of this podcast, that I didn't know that there was a movie. So then it was like I saw the movie. I'm like, oh,
Well, that's that dude.
And there was a show when we were little. It only lasted like, I don't know, less than a season, and it was based on a comic book series called Sable, about a kind of a vigilante guy that would wear makeup, like camouflage, like black makeup to camouflage himself. And Rene Russo was in the show. There was a live action TV show that was very short lived, and I just loved that show. And so Tunnel Rat has like black makeup, camouflage makeup. And so like to me it was like, it's, you know, to me that was like having the Sable action figure. So I loved that figure when
he was awesome. I mean, all of them were pretty cool. I mean, Chuckles was a great character as well.
Law and Order, I had Law and
Order came out as well,
which I alluded to earlier. I didn't care for like Law and Order. When you get the figure, he's got like brown, like, you know, like lightish brown hair because his helmet comes off, and Law is the figure, and then Order is the dog, which is like, you know, mutt junkyard.
I was going to say it's basically the junkyard, and what is it? Is it junkyard and mutt and junkyard? Or?
Yeah, I think I don't know.
But he's like a what's he? He's like a
junkyard was like a Rottweiler.
Yeah, exactly.
And Order is like a German Shepherd.
Yeah.
But you know, when you look at them, that's one of the interesting things about when you would get
with a little rubber. That was their lead.
Yeah,
leash,
you get like a rubber leash. Yeah, but you would get these figures and you would play with them and you would create like this character in your imagination, and then you see it in the movie. And like never in my life would I think that like Law would talk like Speedy Gonzalez.
Yeah, how you doing, man? You think Tunnel Rat would speak like that?
Yeah, Tunnel Rat looks like he would.
But he's even throwing some Spanish, like, "Hey, let's keep us on, man."
Adios, man.
Yeah. Hey, que compadres. He's like, it's
like never would have imagined that.
So, what did you think of the movie? You loved it.
I really enjoyed it. I hadn't seen this movie maybe since 1987.
Seriously.
I never owned it on video. I mean, maybe I had seen it on TV, or maybe like we had talked about, I think last time with in the Transformers cast, that it probably got broken up into 5 parts.
Yeah, eventually it became like a 5-parter Monday
and shown in the afternoons
with Sergeant Slaughter doing the intros and outros, the raps.
So maybe I had seen it then, but I probably haven't seen it since the 80s.
I think it holds up. I think for some reason to me, still Transformers seemed like it had more of a budget. You had like, it was kind of bigger to me, you know. Like,
yeah, you know, there are things about Transformers the movie. There are certain things about the Transformers movie that are beautiful.
They're like a little more epic.
But what I found interesting about this one is, I mean, Transformers movie is, I don't remember how long G.I. Joe is, but Transformers movie is like 80 minutes.
G.I. Joe's like just pushing like 93 minutes, I think.
So it's a little bit longer, but but they're not like that. There's not that much of a length difference where it's like, I don't know, like 4 things happen really in Transformers the movie.
Yeah.
Whereas G.I. Joe, it's a really like complicated.
It's very convoluted.
Convoluted with the various subplots going on, a lot of characters, and it just seems like it just seems like it was more interesting. There was a lot more going on. Whereas like I said, in Transformers movie, when you really think about it, there's like maybe 4 plot points. And then it's just like getting from one to the other.
Yeah, and it's interesting that they handle the complement of characters better, I think, in G.I. Joe, where everybody kind of seems well rounded out and everybody's treated in a certain way that you believe, that as opposed to Transformers where they're just killing them off. You're just seeing, Autobots you loved and they're just getting killed. And there's only about a half a dozen to maybe 10 guys that you're following the plot of in Transformers, where all the various people in G.I. Joe, they're kind of doing them their justice, and then those characters are doing their specialities, and they're doing their due, which is kind of cool.
There's a lot of the new characters. I mean, like a lot of the classic characters kind of do take a back seat. Like you see Rock and Roll in the background.
Yeah, once
of like
Doc says one thing.
Doc says
how he's like good rescuers would turn out to be Roadblock found us,
and so that Lady J doesn't really do much. So there's a lot of the classic characters.
She falls down a lot, I've noticed, Lady J, and then Flint helps her up.
Yeah. Well,
or you see her at the end of the movie in that climactic battle. She really sucker punches Baroness one, gives her a good one in the face. It's like, ooh, that's kind of hot.
I always like Lady J.
Yeah, who didn't?
And, I thought it was really good.
It's a good
I think it holds
story,
up a
though,
lot better. I think it holds up a lot better than Transformers does. It doesn't. I mean, this is going to be completely everybody's going to have have their own opinion. I don't think it's as dated as Transformers, and I think that's because of the lack of like the popular rock and roll of the time that Transformers had. I think that music really dates Transformers in a way that G.I. Joe isn't. But I really liked it. I think it, in my mind, I've always put G.I. Joe as kind of on a pedestal as being, like I said earlier, like kind of ahead of its time, having very cool, interesting plot lines, like the Destro, like Man in the Iron Mask episode.
Yeah.
It's just like really for a weekday afternoon cartoon show for, kids, being very thought-provoking in a way, and being kind of edgy in a complicated way that I don't think cartoons are anymore.
Yeah.
And it was
at least cartoons not geared to children, to the age.
Yeah.
Nowadays, there are complicated cartoons, but they're geared to like us.
Yeah, but the kind of stuff that you would see,
not for like
a
8 to 12-year-old or no.
Yeah. So it was good to watch it now after not having seen it for 2 decades.
Yeah, and the Blu-ray as well.
And see that it was what G.I. Joe is in my mind. You know, like how I remember it. It's like it holds up. There was at one point where I tried to watch, in one sitting, the whole Serpentor 5-parter.
Yeah.
And I was bored to shit because I was like, oh, this is why you're not supposed to watch them back to back. You're supposed to watch them in like increments.
Yeah. Like a serial.
Had I watched one a day, I would have been like, this is awesome. But I was like, for 2 hours, I was like, oh my God. Like,
just get from A to B.
Yeah. I was like, oh yeah, but this is supposed to be stretched out over a whole week.
That's funny.
Whereas this one, it's not. It's supposed to be like you're supposed to be able to sit and watch it in one sitting.
And you can.
And I thought it moved. I was kind of pleasantly surprised at how good it was.
And like I've alluded to, I think the plot really holds up, and I think it's a really good idea that can still be done, where it's like, this whole the villain being this other species. I think that's all really awesome. The sci-fi aspect of it, the BET was really cool. Everything seems really awesome in it. The voice work was great again. All the classic people coming back to reprise their roles.
Yeah, Burgess Meredith's great. In my mind, it's like Burgess Meredith will always sound like Mickey from Rocky.
I know, yeah.
Just because like that's who he is to me.
So you just see him doing voiceover lessons with like a knit cap on.
He's got like his gray cardigan.
Yeah, his cardigan.
He's like, God damn it! You want another one? Give me a cup of coffee.
Yeah. I'll do this.
But he, like you said, he fucking delivers, man.
Yeah, he's great.
He gives it. He brings it on that one.
Yeah, he's really like, okay. I mean, they all really. I think out of both of these movies, the only one I think is sadly, what's his name? Judd Nelson just seemed like he was just.
And I don't necessarily, who knows what the circumstances.
No, yeah,
were.
We're not holding it against him. We're not saying he's like.
Not holding.
We don't know any knowledge that he's a dick and he didn't want to do it. It's just
like they very well could have been like, we should get a name guy for this. And he being someone who works in post-production and has, dealt with people that do like, have to edit voiceover to put into something. These people don't watch like when I'm cutting a voiceover into the show, they haven't seen the show.
No.
They're handed a piece of paper with these lines, and somebody's like, read them.
I mean, at the very least, I'm sure everyone who's listening to this podcast knows the process, but at the very most, I think they're maybe handed a picture of what their character is going to look like. That sometimes doesn't always happen, and they almost always, I'd say 99% of the time, they record the voice first. And then they animate the voice, and that goes for Disney, for majority cartoons, which helps the animators then animate. So they're not seeing really anything. I mean, there's a rare exception where maybe someone else is coming in to voice something, and it's already been done.
There's a very good chance Judd Nelson never got handed anything. Any piece of paper, any page of script that he wasn't in.
Yeah.
So he might not even known the entire plot.
He just did his sides. Yeah, exactly. So what do you think for ratings?
What do we get? 5?
Yeah, for 5? Your Jolt Mega Colas, I'm Sleepover Stars.
Me, I would give it 4.
4. I think that's the highest you rated anything.
I think because
you gave Transformers 2.5,
2.5,
which was higher than Ernest. You gave Ernest 2.
Yeah.
I don't remember what the other ones, but this 4 might be the highest. No, because you gave what, Halloween 3 like 5.
I might have given Halloween because I love, there's just certain movies. I think it like I said, it has to do with. I was just very joyed to see that it delivered.
It held up.
That it held up in my mind. Because you watch a lot of things like,
Our past never
Goonies,
held up. Yeah.
Whereas I don't have anything against Goonies. And I never really was a huge Goonies fan to begin with. But I know a lot of people who watch Goonies now. And some people are like, they don't care. It's nostalgia.
Yeah.
And it's what they love it. And there's a lot of people I know that watch it now and they're like, you know what? Didn't hold up. Yeah. And for me, it was just like, it was exactly what I remembered it being.
Yeah. And I wonder,
which is sadly rare.
Yeah. And I wonder if, even though it started production first, if they learned anything. I mean, because I don't know, they were probably in a rough cut stage already by the time all this backlash came for Transformers the movie, but I don't know if they learned anything plot wise to tighten it up. And because the plot seems a lot more tighter, even though it's the same writer, Ron Friedman. I wonder if they just learned from their mistakes for Transformers. And again, maybe there are too many cooks in the kitchen for Transformers, putting in, what Hasbro wanted, what Sunbow wanted. Well,
I also think it's that thing of that they were, you think 2 years, people being 2 years difference in age is not a big deal. But when you're a kid, that kind of is in terms of maturity and stuff. So I think that also has to do with that Transformers was being initially thought of as their audience being 10.
Yeah.
And then G.I. Joe shooting for an audience of 12. That 2 years at that age of maturity and stuff is kind of a big deal in terms of like reading level and comprehension. I think maybe I think that's one of the reasons why G.I. Joe does have kind of a more complicated plot and Transformers is a much kind of simpler. Like I said, it's very direct what the plot is for Transformers. It opens and then there's like a directive and everything's moving towards it. Whereas G.I. Joe, we have a lot more going on in terms of character and subplot and different storylines. And I think as an adult, obviously for me, it makes it a more interesting watch, and that's one of the reasons why kind of I rated it so high in terms of Mega Joe Colas. Is that look, somebody our age who never gave a shit about G.I. Joe probably not going to care about this movie if they watched it. But as I said to the Transformers thing, like Joe was my shit.
Yeah.
Like, so
you're partial.
This is very nostalgic. Like
but it's also gratifying for you.
Like I said, that music kicked in and it was like I was 8 years old again. And it was gratifying to see that it kind of was as good as I remembered it.
Yeah. Yeah, I would give it probably 3 or 3.5 Sleepover Stars. I liked it a lot. I thought it held up, and I think it's good. It's one for the ages, So, yeah,
for the ages.
I think it was good that we did these. We ushered in 2015 with a little two-parter of G.I. Joe Transformers, because they're very pinnacle, especially Transformers for us, for the age group.
Yeah.
And so much so that, like we said, it's in current, the Goldbergs are talking about it. So,
yeah.
Well, I hope you liked our G.I. Joe the movie cast. It was an epic one. Please come back often. We do this all the time. We're always putting new stuff up. You can find more information about us. We do Saturday Night Movie Sleepovers, which is found at SaturdaySleepovers.podwits.com. We're on iTunes. We're on Twitter. We're on Facebook. We're on Podroid. You can find more of us also at podwits.com.
We're on R2D2.
We're on R2D2. Blake, you do music. Where can they find stuff about you?
J.Blake.blues.com.
I think it's. I'm going to throw out there that I think you should do an arrangement of G.I.Joe the movie's theme.
That'd be cool.
I'll come up and sing, crashing through the skies, Cobra. And then you have everyone, Cobra, armies of the night. It'd be fun. So please check us out again. If you haven't seen the Transformers cast, go listen to that. Come back soon because we have some other cool things in the pipeline. And we'll always be here. Send us recommendations for movies you want us to do. Send us opinions about what you think about the cast, or if you have any, if you agree or disagree with what we're talking about with these movies.
Follow us on Facebook.
Yeah, and tell a friend, retweet us, all that kind of good stuff. Word of mouth. Get the word out on the street. So thank you very much for listening. And until next time.
Later.
AM 331.
The station you're too embarrassed to tell your friends you listen to.